The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning, Bahamas. It is Tuesday, the 27th of April, 2021. You're tuned into Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, and I'm Erin Greene, and you're on the clock. On the clock, we engage organizations, institutions, social and cultural leaders, and ordinary people to better understand the impact of public policy, private sector development, and emerging social and consumer trends. On the clock, we have conversations that help us understand and navigate a rapidly changing Bahamas. Today's show is brought to you by the Department of Inland Revenue. And I have a new ad. New services alert. Request a police character reference or police record online today. This is just one of the many government services that are now available online. Visit mypilotservices.gov.bs to register today. And this message was brought to you by the Ministry of Finance. Well, good yawning this morning. And when I say good yawning this morning, I am sending a special yawning out to all of the people that attended that event on the Gray Cliff property this weekend. First of all, I don't know if I'm mad that you didn't invite me, right? Or did you, right? I don't know if I'm mad or I'm happy that you didn't invite me to this party. I had no idea this was going on. And I am so glad that I didn't attend. If you hear the shakiness in my voice right now, just looking at this picture, right? The pictures on the front page of The Guardian had me shaking. The fear of beating. The fear of getting beaten. I was a big 44-year-old woman about to be 45, and the hair on my arm alive, because obviously a whole bunch of people supposed to get beaten this morning. Now, we're not into promoting violence, you know. It's just a memory. It's just like a memory, like a reflexive thing. See, when I was little, I only remember getting beaten 3 times, right? Now, my parents, not the beaten kind. So let's not crack a joke here and say, well, maybe you don't remember the rest, right? That ain't what it is. I only ever got beaten 3 times that I remember. And all 3 times I got beaten, an explanation was given as to why this punishment was being applied. 2 times by my father. We used to have a satellite, and the rule was when the housekeeper left for the day, there's no more television. Satellite should be off, right? Well, me, with my smart self, I figure I had a system. My father had a radio, and he had the other part of the radio in his vehicle. So when he was coming home, you could hear the radio sort of crackle, and it would give you an indication that he is very, very nearby. Secondly, he used to drive a big Cadillac, and you could hear it, the big man car, you could hear it coming. So we could hear his car entering the neighborhood from the top of the neighborhood, which would give us enough time to make sure that we had turned off the TV and the satellite, get our books out, and pretend like we was doing something sensible. So one day my father came home, and he lined me and my sister up. And he told us we were in trouble. And he told us we were going to get a beating. And then he beat us, and then he told us why he beat us. And he said, I did not beat you for making a mistake, for breaking the rules. I didn't beat you for that. He said, I beat you for lying. And not just lying, telling a stupid, easily refutable lie. Right? Basically, the beating was for being stupid. And like I say, I don't promote beating children. Mind you, I don't have any children of my own. If I catch them raccoons in the bush next door, they may get a tap. I don't promote beating children. I tell you what, that lesson stayed with me for a lifetime, right? The punishment wasn't for breaking the rule. The punishment was for being stupid and telling a stupid lie, not even thinking, for not thinking. That's really what it was, for not thinking about it. So when I saw this headline, I still itching. I still at the age where older women and men in my family could pinch me, and it ain't nothing. The police ain't gonna say nothing, right? And I want to say to these young people today, listen, the only difference between my generation and your generation is two things. One is technology. That's it, you know. Technology. A lot of us is doing foolishness back in the day. Tons of foolishness. Some of us need to spend every day like an hour or 2 hours on our knees praying to God or the universe or the ancestors or our guardian angels for keeping us safe. The amount of foolishness and stupidness we used to do as young people. See, because we grew up in a culture where you not just solve problems with money, but you get more dollars than cents. And that's problematic for young people, right? Because they don't learn spatial awareness, they don't learn critical thinking, right? They don't learn mindfulness, they don't learn about perseverance and discipline and commitment to an ideal. What they learn is that you can solve problems with money, right? That's it. So I want to say to these young and not so young people in these pictures today, say I wouldn't know who you were if I didn't have a picture of it. So tell me, young people, why would you go to an illegal event knowing you live in a culture where people like to document everything on camera? Why would you do that? But let me pause right here because I don't think I set this up properly. The first rule is don't do foolishness. That's the first rule. Rule numero uno is you don't practice foolishness. Don't engage in stupidity. Practice spatial awareness and critical thinking and think about your actions before you engage them. That's the first rule. But here is the second rule. I don't have any children, but I used to be a children. So I understand, and quite frankly, all the older people, and plenty of the older people in my life still think I was a children, and I get it. It's a generational, relative generational thing. But the second rule is this. Please, don't put yourself in a situation where you have committed to doing foolishness, and you could be caught or documented doing said foolishness. Like I said earlier, none of us are perfect. My generation, the most foolishness. And the difference is we didn't have the technology. So why are you going to a party where you could see it's obviously more than 100 people there, and you don't have your mask on? You don't have your mask on your face. You don't have your mask on your elbow. I look in this picture and I see one person who look like they have a bandana tied around their neck. But I don't know, that could just be fashion. I don't see one mask. Why would you put yourself in this position to get caught doing foolishness? Now, I already mad at you for doing foolishness, for putting your own life at risk, for putting the lives of others at risk. See, when you look around you and you see people doing foolishness, your job is to be the adult in the room and to stop doing foolishness and to encourage the others around you to do the same. Why? See, I don't even want to be accused of giving you all tips on how to beat the system. But I think this moment is very, very important, right? I am in no way encouraging anybody, particularly politicians that don't understand that political activities are still restricted under the existing COVID orders. But like I want you all to understand that you are perpetuating foolishness. And you are going to, not just you alone, you're going to suffer, but the rest of us are going to suffer with you for your actions. $92,000 is a whole bunch of money. But I don't know if it's enough money. I can be honest with you. I don't know if the fine is sufficient to cause people to moderate their behavior in a culture where we solve problems with money. Man, look here. I am about to be 45 next week. If y'all gonna play the numbers, remember to call Erin so she could tell you which charity to donate her portion to. But I can be 45 next week. And I don't want to be the adult in the room. I just want to be the adult in my own room. But I think this needs to be said. I ain't just blaming these young people for this. This is an indictment on all of us, the collective. It's an indictment on the political class, because do as I say and not as I do does not work anymore. In case you didn't notice, it is not a plantation. We don't operate, the humans here don't operate like that anymore. But it's also an indictment on older generations of Bahamians. Have we taught these young people anything? Have we given them an environment where they can hope or dream or imagine their lives beyond their current circumstances? Have we done that? Would young people who can not just envision their future but put their finger on it, would they be at an event like this, not just risking their lives? See, because some people don't believe in the vaccine, in the virus. Not just risking their lives, right? But risking their lives with a criminal record. Risking their lives being fired or shamed or marginalized by wider society. What is it that we have given them? Anyway, I did run hot for a minute. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, because we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. Don't let the conversation end here. Engage your young people today. Every young person you meet, talk to them. Ask them if they understand why it's important to not do foolishness and why it's important to not put themselves in a situation where they could get caught doing foolishness and destroy their lives. Talk to them today, please. I get 2 texts on the line before I introduce my guest, who is calling in all the way from Abaco. The text says, "Great show as usual. People need to be socially responsible as opposed to being socially stupid. People who attended the party to Great Cliff are a special type of stupid, a rare type of stupid. Actually, the rule is no matter what you do in life, number 1 rule, don't get caught." Oh, the boy say, "I apologize for calling y'all Ackland's people cheap. I was 1% out of pocket for saying that. I don't see no party could be that important to cause me $92,000. I'd rather go on the run than pay that $92,000. Don't go on the run for no $92,000. In case you haven't noticed, now is not the time to get caught up in border control and in international jurisdictions. Listen, only Ackland's people could call Ackland's people cheap. So if you're Ackland's people, it's okay. But cheap isn't the word. Frugal. Sensible with their money. Right? Living outside of a culture where they have more dollars and cents. That's all that is. And there's plenty other islanders like that. Islanders. New Providence isn't an island, it's a city. Good morning, Erin. Should the language be whipping instead of beating? Regarding the corporal punishment administered by your parents versus some domestically abused persons, understand beatings to be akin to being punched with fists, slapped, kicked, and assaulted with other objects. And worse, some people might be looking for excuse, like they can't differentiate and might beat their children. Thank you, Texter. Thank you for that intervention and causing me to interrogate that just a little more. I don't know if I would replace it with whipping either, right? I don't think whipping is an appropriate word. But I appreciate what you're saying. And I use the word beating because I was brought right back to that moment. I was living that moment for a minute, and that's what it felt like. It felt like beating. For real, for real. And call it, as adults, we want to call it, physical punishment. We want to call it spanking. But let's put ourselves in the feet, in the minds of and bodies of those that experienced it at that time. To little children, no matter how hard it is or soft it is, it still feel like beating. Anyway, Kermit, it's now a good time to go to a break. Yeah? You tuned into 96.9 FM, Guardian Radio. We will be right back after this break with my guest, Dr. Anselino Davis.
Have an outstanding real property tax bill? Take advantage of our Real Property Tax Forgiveness Program. Bring your account to zero and receive a 50% discount on your outstanding tax and surcharge past 180 days. Or get a payment plan. Make a 25% deposit on your outstanding tax, receive a 100% waiver on the surcharge, and pay the difference within 36 months, interest-free. Contact the Department of Inland Revenue at 225-5778 or email us at rptforgive@bahamas.gov.bs. Offer ends May 31st.
For the past 33 years, Great Commission Ministries has been defending the poor and hurting, feeding the hungry, and sheltering the homeless. We invite you to support our Live to Give program and make a difference in these challenging times. Become a donor by giving a one-time annual gift or a monthly donation of $50 or $100. Call Great Commission Ministries at 325-5801 for more details, or visit our headquarters at 237 Wolf Road. Join Live to Give today. This public service announcement is proudly sponsored by this radio station.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
Well, good yawning this morning. If you wasn't up already, I hope that little intro did wake you up, because we got a lot of talking to do to our young people. Another text quickly. Hi, the person who had the event should know better too. Oh, the person who had the event was fined. I think that's the person who had to pay the fine, right? There's a fine for the event, and I think there's a separate fine for each person that was present, right? They should fine all the people who was present. See, that's a part of the reason why they put in that restriction that you have to travel with identification on you. See, if you're driving, you have to have your driver's license on you. But not everybody driving, right? So you have to have identification on you. So in matters like this, see, they couldn't ticket, I'm sure they couldn't ticket every single body. Crowd control may have been problematic, right? And it may have, what's the word? Increase the risk of it getting out of control by trying to do that. But what you do is you make everybody take out their ID, and you take a picture of it. And for those that don't have an ID, then you find them, right? But that's a part of the reason. All right, so we are also streaming live audio and video on GuardianTalkRadio.com. You can listen in on TV on Cable Bahamas Channel 969 and Flow Channel 612, or download the Guardian Radio app for your Apple or Android smart devices. And listen to our audio feed or watch us on our video feed right there on the Guardian Radio app. Text us on the Guardian Radio text line. That's 422 422-4796. 422-4796, and that's powered by BTC. Standard text rates apply. Or you could call us at 323-6232, 325-4316, or 325-4259. Creating an industry from natural resources is not as easy as we think it is. Creating a 100% Bahamian-owned and operated industry ain't easy at all. Among the first things to be done are creating infrastructure, building technical capacity, and growing a culture of appreciation for the industry and all the elements required for sustainable development. Dr. Anselino Davis is a multidisciplinary scientist with a drive to create autonomy in local communities through capacity building. His work is focused on gaining opportunities for Bahamian and Caribbean students in science fields. He is especially concerned with encouraging sustainable development throughout the Caribbean and networking of science professionals and local communities to achieve science action. He has field experience in GIS data collection and management, water quality assessment, forestry and terrestrial wildlife surveys, and marine ecosystem surveys. He integrates art and computer programming as tools for science education. Good morning, Dr. Davis.
Good morning, Erin. How are you doing?
I am
It's good to be here.
good, thank you. Glad to have you all the way from Abaco. I did send that mosquito, that New Providence mosquito, to give you a lift to Nassau, but y'all couldn't connect.
Man, Adelaide mosquito know just how to find me.
What is the mosquito situation like in Abaco right now?
Actually, the mosquito situation in Abaco is not that bad. I saw one Adelaide mosquito inside the Marsh Harbor Airport the other day, but I ducked off. But the sandfly situation, that's a whole different type of story right here. But I operate on the sandfly protocol, close down your house and stuff about a half hour before sundown and up to a half hour after sundown. So that's actually operating with some of my science background to protect myself from the sandflies. And everyone can follow me on Sci Perspective on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And they can get more tips on how to duck sandfly and mosquito as well.
Listen, don't joke, it's funny, but that's going to be some of the top tips to survive the summer this year. So
Always.
Tell us about what is Science in Perspective.
So my philosophy is that everyone can use a little more science, because science is really just the study of the world around us. So if you understand how the world around you works, then you could operate it in it so that you can get the best benefit for yourself and your community. But at the same time, I feel everyone needs a lot more perspective, because no matter how much you understand the world around you, you are not going to do your best until you also have the perspective of other people and organizations who are around you, because no decision, no activity happens in a vacuum. So we have to understand that while we want to protect our environment, protect our economy and our communities, the cruise ship industry, the international cruise ship industry, they want to make money. And so they have a competing interest. The politicians, they don't necessarily just want to protect their community and engage in that way. They want to be voted in. So it's not necessarily that they want to make everything good for you this year. They want to make sure that there's something for them to actually campaign on. And you have to take into account all of these things. Teachers have needs. They have, their kids that they want to take care of. They have to eat. Same thing with your doctors, your lawyers. And I think perspective really makes a difference in all of our scientific decision-making. And that's why the more Bahamians we have that can bring their perspective with a little scientific knowledge, the better our communities will be.
Absolutely. When I was introduced to Science in Perspective, I thought of it as a space that you can also learn about critical thinking and spatial awareness and mindfulness in relation, in terms of you, or examining your relationship to the environment around you, right? And so I'm not I would say I'm not a big environmentalist. I understand the principles and I support them, and my advocacy even supports that, right? But I'm not a bird watcher. I just watch birds, eat my dilly, but I ain't a bird watcher like that. But I'm fascinated by the space. How can people connect to science and perspective, and what are some of the activities or events that they can find going on in that space?
Through science and perspective, it's really personal, almost an experiment for me, where I am creating a lot of little videos. I am engaging with a lot of the scientific community in the Bahamas. And really, I promote what's going on, although I have no funding. I'm just doing this out of the passion that I have, right?
Yeah.
But there are activities like I'm always mentoring students. And so people can feel free to reach out to me. You have a student that wants to be a doctor, an environmental lawyer, a marine biologist, and they don't know where to start. Reach out to me. We can get them lined up. Join Beings, which is Bahamians Educated in Natural and Geospatial Sciences on Facebook. It's the largest community of Bahamian scientists and environmentalists in the country. I think we have 1,100 members now. But you can connect with us there and ask your questions, learn about the environment, make more educated decisions. And, when you're getting engaged in all these big discussions on Facebook about COVID and pollution and mining and drilling and all of this stuff, come and join us and learn about the scientific perspective, which is also advised by our culture and our Bahamianness inside this community, instead of just listening to, some foreign investor or researcher who doesn't live here 365 days of the year.
Absolutely. Is this the closest thing that we have to a journal of environmental and conservation studies and activities?
Actually, no. In the Bahamas, we have the Bahamas National Trust, who's been doing research for a long time. That group has been doing research in the Bahamas for a long time. And they now have the Bahamas Natural History Conference. So that's an opportunity for Bahamians and researchers doing research in the Bahamas to share their activities. The Abaco Science Alliance Conference has been running for a long time.
Say that again. Abaco Science Alliance?
Science Alliance Conference. They've been running for a long time, and they also promote and share Bahamian research, primarily from the island of Abaco, but there's lots of research around the country that is shared there. And also the Gerace Field Station has run a different sort of conference and a journal, and they keep a repository of their research online as well. So there are lots of communities that are actually collecting this scientific research. My position is actually to make it more palatable, because I understand not everyone's going to read a 550-page environmental impact assessment from the Disney Lighthouse Point development. But I have videos from me showing you how to tell the difference between a male and a female cockroach that I found in my house, to me evaluating the new legislation that the new draft legislations from the Department of Environmental Planning and Protection. So these, going between those two, you have a lot of opportunity to engage Bahamians using regular Bahamian language and breaking it down in a way that people can understand how these things impact or affect them.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this specific question. What can governments, societies, and families do to create more PhDs or support students of all ages on their academic journeys, particularly in these disciplines?
So firstly, along the line of supporting PhDs, you cannot get to the PhD in the way academia is set up if you don't actually go through learning about certain fundamental things in high school and then doing a bachelor's and a master's degree. And that level of passion that you need to have as a student to get to the PhD, that's where it starts. And I would press all Bahamian educators to integrate Bahamian topics in their education. So right now, you go to high school or primary school and you're learning about R-selected and K-selected species in biology, and they use rats and elephants for those, or kangaroos or whatever. We don't have them in the Bahamas. Yeah, we got many rats, but we don't have kangaroos and elephants. So why aren't we using green turtles, loggerhead turtles, the Nassau grouper, the hutia, things like that, which we have them in our country as examples, and we have the research. So there's no reason for you to say, oh, there's no information on that. You can reach out to the Bahamas National Trust. They have tons of information on both terrestrial and marine species protection. You have Bahamas Reef Environment Educational Foundation, so they can share with you about our marine environment, science related to marine species. You have Waterkeepers Bahamas, who are in Grand Bahama, and they're collecting this water quality data that's directly tied to us surviving as human beings in any environment. And then you have people like the Bahamas Natural Resource Foundation or the National Fisheries Alliance, and they are actively engaged in working with these policies that affect us. So you can integrate Bahamian natural science and natural heritage into your biology class, automatic. Your social studies class, where are these laws coming from? How does our Constitution relate to our environmental justice? What are these new laws on access and benefit sharing? Did you know that people can't do research in the Bahamas unless they actually pay now, and that any royalties that they get from that research into the future, we have to get a cut? We have to think about these things, and how does that impact us in our communities and economies?
Yeah, absolutely. And how it builds a commitment to developing your community when you understand, when you know what's in it and understand the value it has for the rest of the world. So what discipline did you earn your PhD in?
So my PhD is in ecology, evolution, and environmental biology, and I studied for that at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. What I really focused on for my PhD was how human behavior impacts biodiversity records. And that's basically to say that no matter what we do in the environment, none of that gets into the literature unless someone writes it down. Unfortunately, the people who've written it down were not Bahamians for the most part in our past. And so our natural resource records are biased to these like 2-week-a-year visits by some ecologist who lives in the United States or the United Kingdom or some other foreign land, and they make decisions or extrapolations on how our nature behaves, how our ecosystems behave without actually living here. And so I showed how those people's data is actually not really representative of our country. And that's a lot of what I'm bringing with Science and Perspective, showing you that a researcher who visits here, for 14 days a year for 4 years, they are not as valuable as having a classroom of Bahamians who, even on your school campus, if you go bird watching every day, you could change the biodiversity record for some species. And I've already done that since I've been back home for the past 2 years. working on Blue Lagoon Island as their sustainability coordinator, I tripled the biodiversity record on that island
Simply
in
by
less than a year.
simply by documenting the birds that were already there.
Right. Me being there, the birds didn't just flock to that island because I was there.
Right,
They
right.
were already there. But the difference is you had a Bahamian who was looking, a Bahamian who worked on that island regularly and was actually paying attention.
Right.
And imagine the difference that we can make in the world
Well, look here.
by empowering locals.
Stick a pin for a second. Kermit, I see we got a call on the line. Caller, you're on the clock. Good morning, caller.
Sorry, wrong number.
Boy, look here. And I had to, look here, Dr. Davis, I had a sense he's calling somebody to tell them the first set of mangoes reach, you know. and he hear my voice and hang up the call. But on this bird watching note, right? Doing a little research, and this is what I found on the interwebs. It's bird watching. It's the Audubon site, and it is here we go. A nation of over 700 islands and keys and islets in the Caribbean, the Bahamas covers over 180,000 square miles. For much of the year, except summer, the woods are full of warblers and the wetlands and beaches are stacked with shorebird species from the U.S. that spend their winters on the islands. The islands are also home to a number of endemic species, including the Bahamas oriole, a species that can be found on only one island in the Bahamas, where its habitat, along with habitats of other species, has been threatened due to development and fragmentation of forests. In the Bahamas, Audubon has partnered with the Inter-American Development Bank and the Bahamas National Trust with support from the Ministry of Tourism. This is the best part here. Local Bahamian experts adapted the curriculum to focus on local species and ecologies. To date, the project has trained 80 local community members to be bird guides and trained 24 individuals to support citizen science efforts. With trainings endorsed and supported by the Ministry of Tourism, bird tourism in the Bahamas is set to become a key resource for both local communities and natural areas. Are you one of these people that they train to be a bird guide or to support citizen science efforts?
So I was not trained by them to be a bird guide, but I went through the Birds Caribbean Bird Guide, the Caribbean Birding Trail Bird Guide training. And I actually did that in Jamaica. But I also, of course, I have different certifications and training in field assessment of wildlife. And in 2009, I believe, we were part of the first training for field monitoring of birds, and that was led by the Bahamas National Trust.
Nice.
And yeah, so definitely I do have field guide, bird guide experience, but I'm more of a nature guide, so it's not just birds for me.
Okay.
So I'm talking about the plants, the bush medicine, lizards. Why is that puddle of water there? Why is this big hole in the ground? I do often actually go to the Bahamas National Trust, and I think every Bahamian should take the opportunity to become a member of the Bahamas National Trust, because you can get into all of the parks for free once you're a member. And sometimes I just go to the parks and I say that I'm going to be here and I'll give you a free tour if you're a member.
Yeah.
And I enjoy doing that, especially when you get young kids involved and the questions that they're asking you. I might be out there with all the binoculars that I want, but a kid is going to ask you, why is this fungus look fuzzy like that?
Mm-hmm.
Or they're going to ask you, why is that leaf spinning in the tree? And there's so much more that you can get from a kid's perspective. And part of my commitment to science and perspective comes from one of the tours that I led at the Bahamas National Trust, and this was probably 8 or 9 years ago. But I was trying to show people birds in the forest, and this little girl who I just taught to use binoculars, she must have been like 3 or 4. But she's like saying there's a bird over there and none of us could see it. And I almost dismissed her, but then I kneeled down to where she was. And I got to see a Caribbean dove in the bush. And at that time, I didn't see them very often. So I was really excited, but it really pointed out to me that no matter how much science experience I have, if I don't learn to take the perspective of someone
others
else,
I'm
going to miss a whole lot.
Dr. Davis,
a lot of people don't get to do that.
I got a call on the line. I want to get to it because we missed 2 calls. Callers, please call back to the caller that's on the line now. You're on the clock.
Godly day to this dark universe along with you and your guest, Erin.
Good morning. Blessings.
Good morning.
Much the same to you. Thank you. What's the gentleman's name, may I ask again?
I'm Dr. Ancelino Davis.
Dr.
Davis.
Ancelino Davis.
I can't hardly hear you.
I'm Dr. Ancelino Davis.
Oh, Antonino Davis. I want to enhance your experience if you haven't been to this place. You ever heard of Gold Key in the Bahamas in the southwest part of New Providence?
Repeat that from up, Roman.
Gold Key.
Gold Key?
Right.
Gold Key, Golden Key, Golden Key?
No, gold.
GOLD?
GOLD. Key.
I know.
Okay.
Go on.
It's in the Lightfoot Key area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you need to go there. There are nobody live on that key, but the birds, you will get a great experience of birds if you want to go there, and it would be great for you to go there.
Thank you very much, Raymond.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
So I have been to the key that he's talking about, and not just on the key, but also in the waters around that key. And this is one of those things that if you look on charts, they have different keys that have multiple names for Bahamians, who we might call it Gold Key, Golden Key, Galling's Key, Golden's Key. But then researchers decide on one name that they'll use for it. And that might even get confused depending on when the researcher comes down and which boat captain he goes with and all of these things. So part of my work in the Bahamas is trying to help to establish standards and guide people to make better standards and adhere to them. But yes, that is a great island to go to if you're interested in wildlife, but not just on the land there, because those birds, when they stool in the water, they actually support other marine life. And the corals around there are really nice. And that also supports fish and other wildlife there.
Well, listen,
so definitely a great place.
When you talking all that science, all I'm thinking is that's probably Garland Key. And that's probably where the Garlands is be. And that's why we call it Gold Key, because you can't tell everybody the secret. When you tell everybody the secret, then you lose it, right? So in my mind, that's Garland's Key. Have you ever seen a Garland?
Yeah, and that's one of these things with standards. Garlands are any of these birds with their long neck and the sharp beaks, but in science, we group them into a lot of different species. So there are herons, there are egrets. Some people call ibises garlands. But yeah, I've seen basically all the different types that have been reported in the Bahamas.
So garland is a long neck bird.
Right, basically.
Oh, now it makes sense, because women, long, beautiful neck. The whole little thing makes sense. Have you ever seen a Chickchani?
Well, I am called Dr. Chickchani in some circles. And so just a shout out to the Cat Island Conservation Institute, who supported our Ministry of Environment and Minister Romy Ferreira in declaring a climate emergency for the Bahamas. And in that group, I am called Dr. Chickchani. And for me, it's interesting because I did get my start in birds, but the Chickchawney is considered a shapeshifter. I'm one of the few Bahamians that I move between these spaces of terrestrial and marine ecology, as well as social justice and policy development. And I actually have a little poem that I do. Says, Chickchawney's a man when he walks on the land. He's a bird when he moves through the trees. He's got teeth like a shark he can see in the dark, and he's fast when he swims in the seas. And it's kind of this connection that I have with all of the environment. You just have to be kind of understanding. I've not seen the wild Chickchawney, but Scott Johnson from the Bahamas National Trust has a really good presentation on Chickchawneys, and I think it's on YouTube.
Awesome. Listen, we got another caller on the clock. Caller, you're live.
Good morning, Miss Greene.
Good morning, Sparky.
Right there. Hope your family and hope your guests, everybody's okay out there in this pandemic. Remember the protocols, everybody. We mess up sometime. You don't remember if your mask under your neck or if it's on your nose, but we'll get over it.
Yeah, and it's about building a habit.
Right. And it's uncomfortable. After a while, it becomes uncomfortable. Especially when you go places and rubbing up against your nose. You ain't breathing in that good air.
Yeah.
But where I live in Pride Estate, I'm bordered right on the south side of my home. It's about 39 feet across the road, and then there's a place called Harold Pond, which also moves into Wilson Pond. Now, nobody don't know who Harold is, and nobody know who Wilson is, so because my house so close to it, they call it Lake Sparky now. I got a lake.
Way to go. Who else should have one?
And I'd be telling them every morning on the WhatsApp group, coming at you from number 8 Pride Estate, 39 feet north of Lake Sparky. But when we talk about the ecology and all of that, I have a little problem. Does anybody know that we just had the most beautiful first supermoon for 2021 last night?
I saw it last night.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Hey, all over the world, they said when the moon is closest to the earth, and it was a beautiful sight. I don't know if a lot of Bahamians even know it happened. And there's also, this is the time with your guest, the scientist, that says, the old people say, you plant your seeds now, or transplant, you plant 3 days before the moon and 3 days after the moon. My problem is, with this scientist, I'm saying, not the scientists, but the people around here, farmers don't seem to ever want to teach other farmers what to do, like it's a big secret. Like, I seem to have a green thumb. I tell them I got a golden finger, not a green thumb. But what I put down normally grow. But my problem is I don't really know when to plant, what to plant. Whether this tomato time or watermelon or cucumber time and things like that. And when you go down to the farmer's market on Saturday, you see all these farmers with all the good backyard stuff that they produce by themselves at home. And I was trying to figure out what should we be planting. I use the dilly and the sea grape woman. What we supposed to be planting? Tomatoes, cucumbers, watermelons, sweet peppers.
Well, look here. You asked at the right time, but you asked the wrong person.
Yeah, but I see we got trying to see but boy, I got garlands around here too. I even tell him one big time politician, he gonna mess with the garland and we gotta get rid of him. And I ain't calling no name.
Don't
mess with the garland. You know what happened? What they got that song say? Hello.
Look here,
that song say, "Damn fool, you mess with the garland, damn fool." You remember that one?
Yeah, but that's a cautionary tale to remind men to be mindful in their engagements with women.
And where I live, there's a lot of egrets, a lot of ducks, a lot of the black birds with the long legs and the long beak. They be walking around the road and stuff like that. When I moved down here, the trees in the pond, Lake Sparky, used to be, full of these white birds and things, day in and day out, especially in the morning and the evening. And I guess when the habitat changed around here, with all the motorbikes and the cars and the human beings, they all went away. Where they went, I don't know.
Okay, Sparky, I got to answer your 2 questions right now. I know where all them white birds gone. If it's the imperial pigeon Dr. Davis, that's the white bird with the black top, right?
They have like black on the wings.
Right. Those birds have moved to the eastern end of the island. And what they do is they take their food with them. They take the peppercorn, the pink peppercorn, the Brazilian holly, and they drop it, let them propagate, and they move around the environment where they have dropped their seeds to create more fruit for them to eat. They all around Blair and Johnson Road and on the eastern end of the island loving themselves.
So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna venture that he might be talking about these large white birds with the long beak that sit inside. Since he said it's on a lake, on a water body, they have this long face, and then the black ones with the long beak that walk around in the street or inside your grass and stuff. The black ones are glossy ibis, the white ones are white ibis, and they often congregate inside the trees and stuff like that. What we had for a long time was you had potcakes and raccoons and cats just running rampant all over the island. So these birds, they walk around on the ground and they don't really take off very quickly. So they were getting yanked all the time by these stray animals. But we had a epidemic of distemper actually passed through the Bahamas that wiped out a lot of those stray dogs and cats. And that's why you don't see that many stray dogs and stuff walking around anymore. But that allowed those populations to start rebounding now. And you can see them more in other areas of the Bahamas. And your property where it had that one location might have been the one safe location for them. Mm-hmm. But now that they don't have that pressure all over the island, they can go anywhere they want. And so now you actually see them more spread out around the island, as opposed to being aggregated in one location. For your planting question, I would like to recommend you go and visit the Bahamas National Trust. They have a book by Gardner Jack, and it actually shows you all the fruit trees that you can grow in the Bahamas and the different times of year to plant them. Yes. And you can also look on Facebook or Instagram at The Sustainable Lifestyle. And they are the in-country coordinators for the 100,000 Tree Planting Initiative, which is part of the Caribbean Tree Planting Program. And they have lots of tips and tricks on how to plant and grow different trees and plants.
Absolutely. Dr. Davis, we are all out of time. And listen, you are the consummate Renaissance Bushman. And I have to get you back on my show because we haven't even talked about the revitalization of porking in the new Porking League in the Bahamas. And I wanted to ask this question. Do you think if those young people had to play a game of porking as opposed to being fined, we would have had a better moderation of our behavior? Anyway, I'm all out of time. It was so wonderful talking to you, Dr. Davis, all the way from Abaco.
Yes. Thank you very much for having me. And yes, Bahamas, you can reach out to me at Sci Perspective on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Or you can just look up scienceandperspective.com and see some of my writing and my commentary on the Bahamian environment.
And see some of his ads and promotional work around environmental campaigns in the Bahamas. It's been a great day, Dr. Davis. Thank you, Bahamas, for tuning in to the show today. It's 11 a.m., and that means Levon Miller and Unleashed is up next. Have a great day, Bahamas.